Okay. Good evening, Mr. Robert Sidell. A great pleasure to be with you here on this Sunday night on President's Day weekend 2024. It's funny. Time just keeps marching on, doesn't it? Doesn't take a break. But anyway, I want you to know it's a great pleasure to be with you here. This is a Gateway Show on every Sunday night from 6 to 7 p.m. live on the number one talk station in Las Vegas, and it's also simulcasting on Facebook. So if anybody wants to listen anywhere in the world for that matter, they can listen on Facebook. I'm also putting these recordings on YouTube. Also, all you have to do is type in Miracle Podcast or Gateway Podcast and Sidell, and it will pull up my channel, and you can subscribe to it, and you can then you can listen to this later on. And I have people calling me up saying they listen to that too. You never know when somebody's going to listen to something. Somebody called me, and her son was having a problem, actually an alcohol problem, and she had listened to my show on YouTube and gave her some confidence, and she picked up the phone and called me, and I came up with some ideas of how she could deal with that, including told her about some meetings for Alcoholics Anonymous. I looked it up. So the point is that there's multiple ways you can access this. Again, on the radio, on Facebook, on YouTube, and also in that, I guess that's simple enough to keep it that way right now. So I want you to know it's a great pleasure to be with you here on this. It's just been a pretty day. For those of you in Las Vegas, we've had just a very nice kind of, almost a spring-like day, kind of fun when we get this kind of weather this time of year. I'm guessing, matter of fact, I think I heard that there's another storm coming in. I don't know if it's coming our direction or not, but the bottom line is I'm guessing we'll have a little more cool, stormy weather, which is probably good. It keeps the water supplies good. Hey, James, how you doing? And I know that so far that we're doing pretty well on that this year. But you know what? I was thinking to myself today we're just having a simple family day at home and just having different meals and food and playing games and really not doing anything very dramatic. But you know what? There's nothing better than that. And that's the most amazing thing of life. What are the things that give us pleasure in life? What is it that gives meaning in life? It's the simple pleasures. Sharing love, sharing moments of time. We took a hike out into the country and went and saw a stream flowing out in the community around us. Leroy says AA is the best for all types of addiction. Yeah, you know what? I like people who've gone through AA. Whenever I meet somebody that's gone through AA, I like them because I find that they're honest. I mean, it's just a different kind of. They're not putting as much pretense involved. So for me, it's an appealing thing. I met attorneys, and that's not my particular thing. Not to say I don't need help in lots of ways, but that's not the one particularly that I need. But the bottom line is that I I just think AA is great. If anybody, I had a doctor that always would tell me about his experiences, and I think he was sober for like 30 years or something. Unfortunately, he passed away about not quite a year ago now, which is kind of a surprise because he wasn't that old. So it's also a reminder to me, appreciate every single moment of life. Don't, if you have a nice day, anything about it, just appreciate the subtle nuances of it, the magic and wonder of it. So I'm looking forward to this show tonight. There's several different fun things that I want to share with you. I had a fun trip to Mexico City last week. Actually, I got back on Super Bowl Sunday, so I've literally been back 1 week. But I got to tell you a little bit about Mexico City. I had stayed in Mexico City with a family, a very nice, loving family, when I was 16 years old. I was an exchange student. They had a son my age. I lived with him, and then he also came up and lived with me in my home in Southern California. So we both got to know each other quite well. So I hadn't been down there for a long time. I hadn't literally. I mean, that particular trip was over 50 years ago. In fact, even longer than that, really. But just say 50 years ago. But then I think I visited one more time. The last time I was there was probably about 35 years ago. So it's still been a long time since I was there. And I had a chance to go to a conference down there in Mexico City, which was a lot of fun. But it fits into my whole success philosophy, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But one of the things I wanted to say to you about Mexico City is I was, we all read stories in the newspaper and everything. Is it safe and things like that? And you know what? Where I was in Mexico City, which is in the center part of the city, it was very safe and very nice. I never felt threatened or scared in any way whatsoever. Um, It was just my son and I, my second oldest son, went with me down there. We literally walked around, according to my watch anyway, or my phone, 5 miles one day, just going from little restaurants and parks and one thing to another. I met a lot of fun people, and let's see. Okay, Leroy's saying he loved Mexico City. Yeah, so we had a lot of fun eating at some of the different restaurants. We just getting hot chocolate, getting whatever we felt like, tacos, hot chocolate, vegan food in some places. Um, and the bottom line is, I came away thinking, it's really fun. Plus, I do speak some Spanish because I lived in Mexico once, so I got a good chance to practice my Spanish. And I'll tell you, there's nothing like being in a foreign country to practice a language, because it just kind of comes at you on every pore of your being. You see it in the signs, you see it street signs, stores signs, everything. And it's a real good way to learn. If you ever want to learn a language, go to the place. But I want to tell you one fun thing about Mexico City that I did not realize until this trip down there. Do you know that you can go to Mexico City now? You can go to Mexico City from Las Vegas nonstop in 3 3/4 hours. And it's a pretty, I don't even know exactly how expensive it is, but it was fairly inexpensive flight. I know that. I think it was like $300. I want to say round trip, actually. That's what I want to say, round trip. And so you just climb on nonstop, 3 3/4 hours, and you're there. And you can use Uber down there and get wherever you got to go. So it was amazingly easy. And it kind of made me think, I was just saying to my son today that I think I'm going to go down there again at some point, just to, maybe I'll even rent a little apartment or something for a week or two, Airbnb, because it was very nice. It's a great way to practice the language. And it's just so many good things I enjoyed about it. And then on top of it, I went down there as part of a motivational seminar, and I got a chance to meet some really fun people. I got a chance to meet Miss Mexico, and got a chance to interview her. And and she shared not only with me but with our whole group that she's only 27, very pretty young lady. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to have her on the show one of these nights. And she was sharing with our whole group that, she got this title, which I think in Mexico might even mean a little bit more than here, because it's not as big a country as ours. And she said all of her friends were so excited for her, but she said she discovered that she still didn't have the happiness inside of herself she thought would be there. In other words, she suddenly got some fame and success and all that, and you know what? It still didn't give her what she was looking for. So somehow or another, she got triggered into seeking God, and she accepted Christ, or at least recommitted herself in some way or another. I don't know what her whole history had been on that. And she's now studying the Bible, and her parents are thrilled. And it was just fun to hear her talk about this, how it has changed her life. And I had no idea when I met her that she would have that story. But it's a reminder, I think, for all of us that on this earth, we all are trying to get happiness. So in one way or another, we want some security, we want some love, right? We want all these different things. We need money to supply ourselves with all the different things. But you know what? Unless we find some happiness in our soul, then it's still not going to fill us. It's not going to make us okay, is it? And that's what we each have to remember. And all of us get a little trapped in that. We think the next thing that happens will finally make everything okay, right? Have you ever had that feeling? When this one thing drops into place, boy, it'll be good. When you're 16, it's when you're 21, boy, everything will be good. I can drink or whatever I have to do. When you're in your 50s, well, when I'm 65, I have Medicare and Social Security, hey, everything will be good. Or when I'm retirement age, I'll be able to retire, which I have not retired, by the way, even though I'm 71. But I'm still full-time working, which I still like. I get a lot of nice feedback from my clients. Means I can do fun things related to my business, even like this trip. So as long as I can keep making it a win-win, that's what I want to try to keep doing. Keeps my brain and body and mind active. And but the point I'm really getting at, though, is that we always think one more thing. Finally, this one thing. When I find the right person, I'll be happy. Or some people in their relationships, when I end this relationship, I'll be happy. And usually most of the things we fill the blank in, most of the things that we think are going to make us happy by themselves really don't. They may give you a temporary high, but they really don't give the lasting happiness. Just one of those weird paradoxes of existence. And so, and we see it all the time, right? I mean, celebrities are great teachers to all of us. We just happen to have windows into their lives. And I won't even mention any names. But the bottom line is, well, I can mention a name of someone who's long since passed out. Debbie says she'll be listening tomorrow. Great. That's great, Debbie. Very kind of you. Very sweet of you. That's what's there for. By the way, if you can't make it, my friend Andy has football games because that's not happening tonight probably. But he has a lot of his people have an event. That's okay. You can listen to this program at other times in other ways too. But so we all are kind of living this life, thinking that when one thing happens, when he or she gets elected, oh, it'll all be good. You know, people have thought that since time immemorial. And sometimes a leader may make things better, or sometimes they may make things worse. But what I want to suggest to you is that you and I need to find a higher form of happiness. This world never fully meets our agenda of what we think it should be. I'm sure all of you, including me, I could give you a long list, probably a book worth of things that I don't agree with that are going on in our world today. But you know what? I also choose to love and surrender and be grateful for the time I'm here on this earth. And if that sounds good to you, that's what this show's about. Being tuned into the gratitude, the love, the peace, the joy, the fulfillment of being alive. So you can bring that joy and love into your daily life. Just like for me, going down to Mexico and having a chance to meet Miss Mexico. And I got a chance when I was down there to meet a nice young senator who's a very nice young man and has great possibilities of having lots of success in his career in Mexico. I got to go to the Senate chambers of Mexico. So it was just all these different things are just a lot of fun. And they all just add to the enrichment of our lives. And that's why I'm so glad I had a chance to have that opportunity. Meet these nice people, expand my life. This is Robert Sidell. You're listening to the Gateway Show. We'll be back in just a minute. When we come back, I want to just focus on how you and I can find the happiness we seek right now before you have to have 10 dozen things happen so you can say you're okay. So this is Robert Sidell. I'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned. I'll be back in just a second. Stay with me on Facebook too. So my friends, everybody in this world, we all have lots of uncertainties about the world, and lots of times there's things happening. I was talking to a friend of mine in Mexico, and he's concerned about certain things in Mexico, the future in Mexico. And I just saw today, as a matter of fact, in the news, that 500,000 people had a protest in Mexico over the concerns of the directions the government's going. And I don't even know what direction that is. But still, okay. Annabella saying, please pray for these two wars to end. You know what, Annabella? I agree with you. I agree with you on that. When we come back from the break, maybe I'll say a little prayer about that. She's saying, I just hate to see the destruction and sadness in the world. It's just so unproductive. It just doesn't help us as human beings. So my friends, wherever you are, we all want things to happen in this world. All of us see things that we don't like, or we feel are unjust or unfair. But what really hit me this week, and what I want to make the Tonight Show about, is seeking divine grace, divine enlightenment, divine healing, so that we ourselves can become a living instrument of God's eternal love. That's what my prayer for each of you is that tonight you find the peace and harmony with your life as it is right now in this world. That you find satisfaction, inner joy, inner love, and inner grace. And you let that begin to be your path on this earth. So you take a stand in God's love. You become a living fountain of divine joy wherever you are. And you give hope to other people. You become light to other people. That's what my invitation to each of you on this show is. Let's each become a light unto other people as well. A light of love, a light of peace, a life of grace, a love of wholeness, of contentment, of satisfaction. Isn't that a way to honor God? Isn't that a way to honor the infinite loving presence of existence? To find the joy, the peace, the grace in this life? If you and I can become beacons of love, then we can beacons of healing. Yes. Leroy's saying yes. Meet with Christians on a regular basis. I try to go, well, multiple times actually. But you know what? We're just about to go back in the radio. I'm going to follow up on Annabella's request for prayer also. Here we go, back in the radio. Just about ready here. Good evening, this is Robert Sidell. Great pleasure to be with you here on this Sunday night. It's the Gateway Show on every Sunday evening from 6 to 7 p.m. live, the #1 talk station in Las Vegas. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you. Each of you are listening, are supporting me in love and grace and healing. And you really do. You may see it, you may not, I don't know. But you actually make a very huge difference to me. And I just want you to know it's an honor and a privilege for me. And I just had a message from a dear friend of mine that lives down in Mexico. I don't know if you're down there right now, Annabella. But I know she lives in San Miguel, Mexico, which is another place I want to go. I was just saying, Annabella, I was just in Mexico City. Spent a full week down there. And I think if I was going to go to San Miguel, I'd have to fly into Mexico City also, I think. I think that's how you do it. I'll have to find out because my son and I were talking about that too. But what I want to say here to everybody, so Annabella was saying, please pray for these 2 wars to end. Yeah, right now we have these 2 different wars. I mean, there's probably more wars in this in the world, but obviously the Ukraine and Russia war, and then also there's the war in the Middle East, Israel and the Palestinians. And so I'm going to say a prayer right now for that. Since you asked that, I think it's a great idea. Heavenly Father, Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ, all that is good, we bow and honor ourselves to your infinity. It saddens our hearts to think human beings have no better way to resolve problems than causing harm and in violence to one another. We would like to see a way that we can live together in greater peace and joy and grace. And we ask that your healing and love and wholeness might embrace these places where there's now war going on, and conflict and violence. And as well, in bring a higher possibility to these places. And then on top of that, even in our own country where there's violence and shooting and problems, for whatever the reasons are that happen in our cities and anywhere in our country, I pray, beloved God, that you give us a higher answer for that too. I pray that you can allow us to come back into the harmony that is your plan for us and cause people to once again reverence and bow to your infinity, God, your eternality, and have respect and fear even of you. Fear and awe and respect. For me, rather than fear, I mostly prefer trust and love and grace. But the bottom line is, you're a real God, and we know that you're at the path of freedom in this life. And tonight we ask that your love might embrace our nation, our world, our country, the Middle East, Europe, Russia, Ukraine, everywhere. Anywhere where there's discontentment in the human heart and soul, anywhere where there's dis-ease or disease. Disease is dis-ease of the human soul. Anywhere where there's disease or suffering or loss or poverty or lack, we pray that your infinite light, beloved God, be with all people wherever they might be, that your infinite love might embrace people wherever they are, that people might be reminded that they are not on this journey by themselves, that you are there waiting for us at every moment to seek you. And if we seek you with all of our heart, mind, and soul, that you will surely respond with grace, love, and peace beyond ways that we could ever dream of. So tonight, I pray right now for whoever's listening now or later to any recording of this, that infinite love might embrace you, behold you, protect you, uplift you. Hey, Janet, good to see you on there. Glad to see you. Janet and Ernie will be both with us later on in the show, each sharing their prayers with us, Reverend Janet, Reverend Ernie. So all of you right now, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of music back on again. Let us just remember that every moment we have access to the infinite grace of existence. Every moment. Actually, let me do a different one here. Every moment we have access to that infinite love and peace and harmony and grace. That we're not far from God's infinite love. No matter how this world might seem, we're simply waiting for that infinite expression of love to show up in our own lives. Beloved God, I pray that tonight might be a night for whoever who's listening, including for me who's speaking, that your love might shower forth in a new way. It might initiate us into a new dimension of divine grace. Something infinitely better than we could have ever dreamed of. I pray that any person listening to this now or in the future receive a dispensation of divine love that will heal you of disease in consciousness, mind, and spirit. That will bring you into harmony with everything around you. I pray that divine grace and healing and joy enfold you like a beautiful cloud of joy and peace and grace. I pray that infinite love and harmony and goodness might wash over you into every molecule and every atom of your body. I pray that you accept that you are forgiven and loved by God, that God wants you to thrive and succeed exactly as you are, that you don't have to do some special thing. It's God's good desire to bless you, to lift you up, to exalt you. It's your and my job to open ourselves to that and get out of the way. So tonight, my friends, I invite you to let God shower a light into your heart that perhaps you never knew existed. At this very moment in time, I pray that you might be awakened to a new dimension of life that maybe you didn't even know existed, including me. I pray that we each might be initiated to a new possibility tonight. A new possibility of joy. A new possibility of love. So you might find that love in all that you do and all that you see and every day. So your heart might be filled with love. Your soul might be filled with joy. And when you contact and interact with people, people will feel that joy from you and know that joy from you. I pray that wherever you are, people will notice your love and your grace and your healing and your harmony. They'll be drawn to you. I pray right now that everything within you and I that might block us from the very highest expression of divine awakening might be lifted right now. If there's any feeling of unworthiness in our souls, we release that to you right now, God. If there's any feeling that we're not special enough to accept the fullness of your grace, we let that go. If there's any feelings of unworthiness or failure or unhappiness, we surrender those to you right now, God. We dare to step into a new adventure of life today, a new adventure of infinite grace today that we never knew was even possible. We dare to let the dispensation of infinite grace and healing be showered upon our hearts, minds, and souls today. We dare to know that you, my beloved God, are the creator of miracles, of good, of healing. But beyond any miracle of things or even people showing up, the miracle we seek, God, is your presence, your living presence within us, right now, right this second. A living presence and dispensation of thy divine love in our hearts right now as we speak. Right now, beyond any faith, any tradition, we open ourselves to your infinite love, God. We dare to trust that you are something beyond anything we could have ever dreamed of. That you're not some sort of cosmic disappointment, but rather, you're an infinite answer. And you know what's best for us. Tonight we dare to trust that infinite good is unfolding in us right now as we speak. Infinite good right now, through us, for us, as us, is unfolding even as we speak right now. New opportunities, friendships, loved ones, romance, whether in your existing relationships or new relationships, adventure, excitement, enlivenment, beauty, harmony, prosperity, new opportunities, career-wise, professionally, personally. Everything that good that God can shower upon you coming to you tonight. New friendships, healing of old friendships, new answers, solutions to problems you've never been able to find solutions to. Not just for you, but for all people. Solutions for the world that today were impossible, but tomorrow are possible. I pray right now that the veil of darkness that separates us from the infinite glory of God's love be lifted right now. An infinite light might shower through each of us, granting us a sense of excitement, a kind of excitement and joy that we might have never known before, because it's so great and glorious in its fullness. Wherever you are, wherever I am right now, we're not far from our infinite loving God. We're one breath from God's grace. God is closer to us than our own breath, closer to us than our own mind, closer to us than our own thoughts. Dare tonight to know the living, eternal freedom of God's love that can take this world, which can be a place of struggle and pain and suffering, and turn it into a place of joy, peace, and love. Imagine that. We hear so much about struggle and suffering, and we've all had our struggles and suffering. I'm not trying to say that, but imagine if your predominant experience became one of celebration, joy, love, and fulfillment. Imagine that that is the new dispensation, a new adventure, a new possibility of life that you didn't even know was possible. Tonight, let us open ourselves to that. This is Robert Sidell. You're listening to The Gateway Show. We're going to go to a break right now. I'll be back in just a minute from the radio station, but I still will stay with you on Facebook right now. Stay tuned. This is Robert Sidell. You know something? You want to know something fun, my friends? It's interesting. It's very interesting. I'm sitting here doing this show, and all of a sudden it's like I was flashing on being 12 or 13 years old in my own house growing up. Isn't that interesting? A sense of optimism, fulfillment, contentment, and greatness and goodness that I had in my life back then. Oh, see, nice to see you there. And so, you know what? That's what I want all of us to know. It's easy to get stuck in what Zig Ziglar used to call stinking thinking. It's easy to listen to negative thinking, negative stories, and let that somehow dominate our consciousness. But sometimes it's hard not to. But yet, what if you began to let infinite love shower through you? Infinite love. Infinite love. Infinite love. Just kind of stirring up inside your soul, giving you a feeling of vitality. Like I said, I'm sitting here almost having a deja vu experience when I was like 13 or 14 years old. And all the excitement and adventure of life, all the possibilities of life. I got to tell you something funny. When I was that age, the kind of radio I had back then, this will date you, or date me, I should say. It was just a little, like a big box radio, and inside of it, it had tubes, and that's what we could listen to. That was radios back then. So here I am, a long time later, 60 years later almost, 58 years later. I still have dreams, I still have hopes. I still know and believe that there's a living God, that if we put our hearts in that living God, dare to trust in that living God, that you know what? God can open closed doors. God can open closed doors. God can heal the sick. God can bring prosperity to those who don't have enough money. We are a God that is supernatural in nature. And you know what? You know, are one with that God. God's infinite oneness is with us right now all the time. So God's infinite plans, goodness are waiting for us is right here. Waiting for us to be willing to accept it and be open. How many times do we have ideas that we just don't take action on? And later on somebody does and we think, I could have done that. And you could have. Okay, we're going to come back on the radio right now. Good evening, this is Robert Sidell. I'll welcome you back to the Gateway Show on every 6 to 7 p.m. every Sunday night on the number one talk station, broadcasting all over Las Vegas, sometimes onto the road between here in California too. I've even had people hear my show up in the mountains of Southern California. Even had people stop by my office to get a copy of my book. And by the way, here's a picture of my book. And this book holds keys to happiness, the principles and success. I followed the principles of this book since it was first published 20 years ago, and I still refer to it every single day. And you know something? It works. The principles work. It's allowed me to be very, very successful, have a life of opportunity that is very rare. And you know what? It can be your story too. But you know what? The story of this is not that your life be like mine. It's that you find the keys for the life that fulfills you. You can get this on Amazon.com. Or you can come to my office and get a free copy of it. I don't know how much easier I can make it for you. Right here in Las Vegas, just give me a call at my office at 702-384-3847, or look me up at lasvegasattorney.com, and you can get the contact information just at lasvegasattorney.com, or Robert Sidell, and you can stop by and get a free copy of my book anytime. It's my pleasure to share it with you. You know, the principles of this book that are shared in this book. I prayed a long time before I wrote the book. I said, God, what if I could write a book that captured your love and healed people when they read it? And you know, it had so many people tell me their life's been 100% changed since they had the book. I had a guy show up in my office, and I hadn't seen him for 20 years. And he had my book with all these lines in it. He goes, this book saved my life. I wanted to come by and tell you that. It saved my life. And so he says he didn't travel anywhere without it. So you know what? I know it works. But you know what? The choice to utilize its tools and consciousness is up to you. But I do, and you're welcome to come out and get a free copy. I can't make it any easier than that for you. I really can't. It is also on Amazon.com for anybody who's out of town. So now a couple more things I want to focus back in what I'm talking about tonight and working on. Hold on just a second here. Just a minute here. What's going on here? Let me try something here. So, my friends, I know in my heart, for some strange reason, like I said, I'm feeling certain energy and consciousness, almost like when I was much, much, much younger. And I know that there's no limit on the goodness that's waiting for us. I know that God's waiting for any one of us to be courageous enough to accept our good. The trouble is, it's difficult sometimes to do that. You know, you may be facing a trauma or an adversity in your own life. Somebody could be sick, or you could be facing an illness. Or you may read the news and feel discouraged with how things are going, no matter what they might be. I said earlier, prayer for some of the wars going on in the world, so that could discourage you. But in the midst of all that, the conviction I had as a kid and the conviction I have tonight is this. If you and I have the courage to stand in God's greatness, stand in God's goodness, stand in God's promises, and guess what? We can become radiant beacons of divine light. And where we go then becomes a dispelling of darkness. And not only that, we get to benefit from the grace of the love ourselves. I was just talking about how my son and I were walking around in Mexico City. We did a lot of walking down there. Just in the very first day, we walked 5 miles. And one of the things somehow a gift came to me many, many, many years ago. And I've sort of kept it going all these years, which is I can meet strangers wherever I go and I have fun. And So it just opens up. So my son and I met a lot of fun people that day wandering around. Met a nice young couple from Switzerland, heard their story. They were like each 21 and they're 21 years old, traveling around the world. And met so many different people. It was so much fun. We met the owners of businesses and heard their stories. And it just reminded me of the magic and the possibility of life. And when I go down there, I have this card. Some of you who've watched this show before know I like to give out a card that says "Expect a Miracle." You can see it on Facebook if you're watching. And I give that card out, and even down there, and just like here, you'll interact with somebody, and suddenly they say, "You know what? I was praying for guidance today. This way down in Mexico City, I was praying for guidance today. Thank you so much for giving that to me." And one of the good things for me is I got a chance to practice my Spanish, but also a lot of Spanish, a lot, which was wonderful. But also, I met quite a few people, whether from Europe or the United States, and got a chance to visit with them. And just like everybody else, people working out their stories. And people have stories to work through, adventures to make unfold. And so here I was way down in Mexico City. And you know what I was doing, really? Just what we're talking about. Leroy, if you want, come by the office sometime. Get my book, if you don't already have it, and get my card. I'll give you one of my cards. Any one of you, same thing. I always enjoy meeting people. It's what's fun for me to do. That's how I keep my life going. Here's something kind of funny. I got to tell you, you'll laugh at this. When I was 17, when I was like 16, 17, 18 years old, I got a chance to work in a liquor store, mostly doing deliveries of, to people's houses of liquor. And but it happened to be a nice part of the San Fernando Valley when I grew up, which was still very nice and safe at that time. But also I got to deliver to a lot of well-known actors, and it was kind of a fun little world for me to be a part of for a while. But plus I like people. I'll tell you what, my maternal grandfather ran a general store, for many years. And that was his thing. Douglas DeBecker, yes. Okay, Douglas. I'm going to interrupt myself. I started to talk about. So I'm kind of like my maternal grandfather. I like talking to people. That's what he did in his store. So Douglas, this was a funny, unexpected blessing of my Mexico City trip. Douglas DeBecker just put his name down on Facebook. For those of you listening, Facebook. Doug and I have known each other for 40 years or more. But he's actually moved away, so I don't see him so often now. Well, out of the blue, somehow he ended up on the same trip I did to Mexico City. So there we were down in Mexico City, sharing tea that he brought down, a very beautiful Tibetan tea service down in Mexico City. And we were talking about it by divine appointment. Isn't that true, Doug? I mean, it was just a miraculous experience. So, and I got to hear Doug speak, and he got to meet Miss Mexico too, and it was just a fun adventure for us. As a matter of fact, Douglas and I went in with my son, and we went to a couple of different vegan restaurants, which were quite interesting places. One of them was just like you wouldn't even know it was there, like a little hole in the wall kind of place. And so it's like life is just. So we didn't know that was going to happen. We had no idea. I had no idea that he was going to be going down there and he'd somehow be part of the same group that I was going to Mexico City with. It's like, how did that happen? But that's the miraculous kingdom we live in. And I was just thinking to myself, Douglas, it was a lot of fun. So that was just one of the unexpected blessings of that trip, is seeing my friend Doug, that we had a nice chance to visit and communicate, and that we hadn't had that much of a visit for a long, long time. And I think you just tuned in, Doug, but I think at one point that night, one of our dinners out, you were saying it reminded you of many years ago. And you know what? That's exactly what I was just saying on the show here tonight. I don't know if you just tuned in. For some reason, this whole night tonight, I'm feeling like I'm sitting here I feel almost like I'm 14 or 15 years old. It's just a funny thing about life. But in any event, what do you say? So much time never had before, I think. I didn't quite understand. But I'm not quite sure I understand what you're saying there, Doug. But the bottom line, it was fun. That's all I'm going to say. It was a lot of fun. And it was a lot of grace and a lot of healing and a lot of possibilities. And that's what I want to say to all of you listening. Just imagine that your life is this meal, this stew that you're creating. sometimes we just eat the same food every day, and I'm not even against that sometimes, but because I still like to spice it up. I just do. I'm one of those people who likes to put spice in my food. I would try to find different kinds of spices. But yes, I see. Yes, we spent together consistent time. There you go, Doug. I agree with you 100%. But so, my friends, what we want to do is spice up our lives somewhat. The world is this beautiful feast waiting for us, and I know that's not a new idea to me. But it's up to you and I, and we've got to throw the spice on there. There's people, wait, you know, that's a gift that was given to me many, many years ago. That I can meet people in different settings, and somehow it's okay. It just works for me. And so that way I'm always meeting people. That makes my life interesting. And now I want to encourage each of you to do the same thing. There's people that want to meet you. You go into a store, visit with a clerk that's checking you out. Get to know that person a little bit. Wherever you go, there's somebody waiting to meet you and hear what you have to say and get some encouragement. So whatever's going on in your life, dare to trust, dare to believe, and dare to know that the very best is waiting for you. And you heard me saying a little bit earlier, the whole idea I'm praying tonight that each of you get a dispensation, an initiation to something new tonight, a new possibility of divine grace, something that's so wonderful you didn't even know was possible. And me too. Why not go for the very best? Why not look forward to a future that your worst days are better than your best days up till now? I mean, that's kind of a big stretch, isn't it? Think about that possibility. That your worst days in the future will be better than your best days now. And that's kind of a tall order because I've had a lot of good days and so have you. So maybe comparisons, maybe we want to use it a different way. But I'm really trying to say is dare to trust that phenomenal good things are coming into your life, even if you don't understand it. We're going to go to break. This is Robert Sidell. It's the Gateway Show. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a second. I'll stay with you on Facebook. Stay tuned. This is Robert Sidell. So let's see here. Hold on a second here. Let me go. I think I've got Ernie. There's Janet. Hi, Janet. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah. Is Ernie here?
I'm assuming you will be in a minute. You look nice tonight. You look nice.
Thank you.
Yes, Douglas saying thank you. Doug, remember, the best is yet to come. That's for everybody. You look nice. Did you do a wedding today?
No.
Really? You just look nice and dressed up?
Well, yeah, I put red on because it was Valentine's this week.
Oh, that's nice.
Remember? Wednesday. Yeah. Thanks. I usually don't wear red on the radio.
There's Mr. Ernie.
Hi.
Reverend Ernie, can you see
Hi, Robert.
Let's see if I can get it. Oh, yeah, there we are.
Three Musketeers here. Actually, Janet, that's a nice setting for you. You have a nice wood background with those flowers and everything. It actually looks very nice.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Well, I usually have that. I think the red of the shirt is bringing out the colors in that.
Probably.
That's probably what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I was sharing a little bit how much you guys heard Ernie. Like I said, for some reason, it was like a time warp in my mind, and something I felt like I was like 14 years old. And I partly still feel that way. Just a sense of excitement, potential, possibilities. Hold on a second here. Just a minute here. So it's nice. We'll be back on the air in just a second. So, how are you guys doing this week? By the way, everybody can hear you right now.
Yeah, all is well, Robert.
All is well. That's a good sign.
All is well. Thank you.
How about you, Janet? How are you doing?
Good. First time I've been on for a while.
I know you've had wedding.
I've been having weddings in the evening on Sunday, and then last week I was available and you canceled for the Super Bowl.
I watched the Super Bowl. That was the first time I'd done that completely for a long time, and it was a lot of fun actually.
I actually had a wedding on the Super Bowl
Oh, you
day.
did?
Yeah, at Valley of Fire earlier in the day, in
Oh,
the
that sounds like
afternoon.
fun. Huh. I haven't been out there for a
It's
while.
beautiful. It was a beautiful day up there.
Huh.
Yeah.
Here we go, back in the radio.
Okay.
C says she misses you, Janet, on Facebook.
Who misses me?
C Bissett.
Oh,
You can look on Facebook.
well,
Good evening. This is Robert Sidell. Hey, I welcome you back to the Gateway Show, 6 to 7 p.m. live on Sunday nights. And I also now I'm joined by Ernie and Janet, Reverend Ernie and Reverend Janet, and who've been doing this with me also a long time. I've actually known Janet. We hardly want to admit these things, but I think I've known. Oh, Doug says he recognizes you too, for like 40 years now. I've known you probably 40 years, Janet. And then
yeah.
Ernie, I've known you minimum of 10 years, maybe even a little bit longer than
Right.
that. So that's why I always say you never know when you're going to meet somebody new, become a new best friend. And then also sometimes old friends like Douglas, who I hadn't seen too much, suddenly show back up in your life. And here I am having a nice visit with him in Mexico City, of all places. So that was kind of hard to believe. So life has got lots of surprises. Let's plant this on. Good surprises waiting for us. You know, let's dare to believe and know that good surprises are coming. Things that we're going to think are wonderful. We can't believe our good fortune. Doesn't that sound good? Just plant that thought. Cannot believe our good fortune. Wow, how did I get so lucky? That's a good thought, isn't it? All right, Reverend Ernie, what do you have to share with us tonight?
All right. Thank you, Robert. The prayer is about where are you at in your spiritual journey? Are you finding and expecting miracles? That's the topic. Okay. Lord, thank you for giving us this blessed day and this adventurous life journey. We give gratitude for the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. Guide us to be in awareness in our spiritual journey and the miracles we experience. We are grateful for the resources that surround us, to use it for spiritual well being, to be happy, joyful, compassionate, and experiencing inner contentment. Lord, guide us to share and be a testimony to the people we come across on expressing our appreciation for the miracles we experience and how we can be of service to others in times of their shortcomings. We give our gratitude and to acknowledge your blessings of happiness and staying focused in our spiritual journey, creating heaven on earth. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Ernie. You know what? It's such a pleasure to hear you share that prayer and with us. And I know you put a lot of your heart into a lot of these prayers. And so it's just nice that you do that. It's just a nice gift. And my friend Doug, I know you've met Doug, Janet. I don't think Ernie has, but I know you've met Doug. He used to do our
I've
meditations.
met Doug.
I know you have, but it's been a while. And you might not connect his name. But he used to come to our meditations a lot in the past. But he goes back quite a while. I'm talking about 20, 25 years ago. So, because he's been living out too. But anyway, he said blessings to each of you. And then James Bree says, thank you, Reverend Ernie. And C says, beautiful prayer. All right, Janet, what are you going to share with us tonight? What do you have to share with us?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the topic because it made me look up some other things in the computer earlier today. So I just want to say a few things about expecting miracles and things like there's 10 things and I think we probably all three do it, and I'm sure a lot of listeners do. But it's cultivate gratitude, develop awareness, trust in divine timing, which you talked about tonight with your friend in Mexico City, right?
Right.
Nurture belief and faith about God, practice surrender about letting go of any outcomes and just allowing things to be. That's how we open. And the next one is cultivate positive energy around yourself, keep an open mind, which goes with practicing surrender, really, keeping an open mind. Visualize and affirm things, act with purpose. And the most important one is sharing your miracles, because as we share them, other people receive them too. But also, I think as we share them, more comes into our lives. Yeah.
That's right. No, I'm 100% with you, because the more we share them, it kind of becomes, it honors that, and then suddenly it puts our attention there, doesn't it? So we tend to create more of that possibility in our lives.
Yeah. So I'm just going to read something real quickly from the Daily Word, but I wanted to share that because it made me think of other things that am I doing this or am I doing that? And where might I be not being open-minded enough to bring more miracles into my life? Okay.
And we all have to do that, don't we, Janet? We all have to do that.
Yeah, I had something that took away my peace on Friday, but I'm going to read this because it's kind of interesting what I've chose to read tonight. Okay. I share my peace wherever I go. Today, I commit to staying so centered in the awareness of God in all things that loving kindness will inevitably forth from me. I gladly and wholeheartedly dedicate my time, resources, talents, and treasure to those efforts that help create a world where everyone feels accepted. I provide a safe space for everyone to be themselves. I meet others where they are, however they are, and appreciating their uniqueness. I am grateful for our similarities, and I can learn from our differences. I allow for the richness expression of that diversity brings. I live in harmony with myself and all others, and the love and unity I share so freely spread seeds of peace wherever I go. And that's kind of what you did while you were gone, I'm sure.
I believe you're right. That is what we all did. That's what we were doing, and having fun at the same time, right? It's just fun, just like when you do your weddings. That's what you're doing, right? You're sharing a lot of little senses of humor. You give people $2 bills, which is a whole different story. But you do things to try to give them encouragement when they're starting their marriage, and Ernie, you do things to uplift your students when you're at school, and
yes.
So all of us, doesn't matter where we are, we can have miracles and share miracles, can't we? Wherever we are.
Yeah, right.
So, and we just have to be grateful. You know what? We just have to know that and James Breed says, very nice selection. Thank you, Miss Janet.
Oh, you're welcome, James.
And then Leroy says, definitely, by sharing your miracles, it adds God's will and encourages others in spirit. That's what he said too. So people are listening to you, both of you, a lot. So each of you makes a huge difference. Let's see, we're almost out of time, so I got to pay attention here for a second. But so I just want you to know you both make a big difference. And life is good, God is good, and it's up to us. It's that old saying, if it's going to be, it's up to me, right? We got to keep shining our light and bringing light to other people. That's all we can do. And then if we can do that, and like you said, Janet, even though we're almost out of time, sometimes something can come along and kind of knock us out of the saddle a little bit. Whatever it was, I don't know what it was on Friday we're talking about. It doesn't matter. But when that happens, just do whatever I can, get back on course, and next thing you know, you're stronger than ever.
Yeah, that's true. It just kind of threw me. I have to say briefly, and I still have to take my wallet was stolen on Friday on the strip.
Your wallet?
Out of my backpack of all things.
Oh, well.
While I had it on my back, I think.
Well, we're going to have to talk more about that next week.
It was just kind of a crazy situation.
Yeah, that would be upsetting. For most people, that would be upsetting. We're out of time, so we're going to trust that somehow prosperity will return its way to you. And everything needs to come back to you. Will. But may all my friends have a wonderful, blessed week, and may good come to you now and throughout eternity. Remember, God is good, miracles are real, and the best is yet to come. God bless everybody. This is Robert Sidell, Gateway Show.
Have a lovely week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now. God bless.